All right. All right, we're live now, so welcome to the 0 viewers I have, and if you do come or watch this later, welcome, thank you. And basically, I'm going to have a presentation here. I have one person live who's a little bit shy, so she will not be online, but you may hear me talking to someone in the room or walk around the room, so you won't see my beautiful face, but you'll hear me talking live over there. And I'm also going to share my screen with her so she can see it. But, I turn that on. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Brendan Murphy. I'm Technology Integration Specialist, working at Richmond, Burton, and Nipissing School Districts in Northern Illinois. This is my last month here. I'll be moving on to something else in July. I'm not sure what that is yet, but we'll figure it out. Today, I'm doing a presentation on presentations for teachers and students. So I know we all, as teachers, we kind of present stuff to students, and so we're going to think about what we do when we present stuff. And also, a lot of times we ask our students to maybe make their own presentation and do like a presentation day in class. And sometimes those can be really tough. In the presentations end up being a lot of students reading stuff off of slides, which is not what we really intended. We really intended them to get a better understanding of the material and then present that material to their fellow classmates and hopefully do a little learning on both ends of that. So we'll talk about that a little bit. There are a couple of interactive parts hopefully in here, and we'll get to those. But right now, let me share my slide view. And let's see, there it is. So here's the presentation, and the link to the slides is there. If you'd like to see them later, it's bit.ly/1 capital J, capital F, capital H, small s, small h, 7. And that should take you to the slides so you can walk through them on your own or look at them later. And I have introduced myself. I'm Brendan Murphy. I've been an educator for 15 years now. I've taught 4th grade and 8th grade math. I've been a math curriculum specialist, and currently I'm a technology integration specialist. And this is a really funny video, so we're going to kind of start with this real quick.
Notice as people file in, getting the computer ready, and take a seat. Pretending to put something on the computer to put that in. But right here, just in time.
Wrapping up the conversation with talking to each other.
Disdain for popular TV show. Mediocre icebreaker joke. That doesn't quite land. Attempt to redeem myself by making fun of that guy. Laughing at that guy.
Laughing because he's laughing. I like him.
Not laughing, and now checking out the rest of the session. Title: Presentation. Question about how long this session will last. No vague response. Exaggerated eye roll. Poignant book, unknown philosopher making presentation. Juvenile slide reading a long paragraph, in fact, has to appear on the slide about a shocking statistic I talked about, followed by all kinds of vague lingo that no one will remember 2 seconds. Wrapped off by 3 bullets. Proudly pause, make sure everyone notices my awesome literature. Update pop culture reference.
Correction, not pop culture reference.
Defending pop culture reference. Exciting social networking site one uses.
Audible side to make sure everyone knows this is a complete waste of my time.
Serious, somewhat over the top reminder of how important this information is. Unexpected technical difficulty. Bears some of this one.
Snide remark about how Macs are better than PCs.
Desperate plea for IT guy.
Fixing the problem with an annoyed look on my face so that everyone knows how good at computers I am.
Unfunny video I'm really proud of. Created myself. Clearly aware of it. Prefacing a preface of a preface so that no one really understands the point that I'm prefacing. And now, going through a long list of facts, one by one by one. Asking if anyone has any questions. Reminding everyone there are no bad questions. Hoping if I wait on enough time, including by restating the title of my presentation. Excited that someone came back for a follow-up conversation. Grabbing this and
So, and they can't see us right now. I really like that. So
Yeah,
it's,
that's good.
it's about presentations, but I want to bring it into students because we want to start talking about anytime we're at the front of the board talking to students, we are presenting. And so what happens is even the most motivated students are not really motivated, or they can lose their motivation. We don't really want to be in school and learning stuff, especially in middle school. But we're forced to be because it's, it's school. You got to come to school. So we're already starting at a disadvantage anytime we go up and try and talk to the kids. They don't necessarily want to be there. So if you want to pull that off, actually, and sit down and relax. Because as long as I'm screen sharing, we're not sharing my video. So you could talk. They're going to hear you talk, though. So, so our objective as teachers is really how are we going to make sure our students are motivated and learning what we hope they're to do. So I want to start right here and go to this Padlet and just have people share what your thoughts are on what is the purpose of presenting this. Anytime you go to the Blackboard or the Smartboard or anything like that, why are you doing that and what do you hope to do? So I will click there. Still, so this is what you present. And then if you want to tell me, I can type it in, or if you want to grab your computer, you can type it in yourself. So why, what is your purpose? See, and here's the first thing when we're doing presentations is we want to get people active. So when you're up there, what you want, what is your purpose? Just make sure the information you want to give them, to inspire students to think about something. Why are we? Back home, nobody listening, right?
I'm sorry.
got nobody.
Right. Just to get my material across. Can you type it in rather than
Sure.
so they don't hear my voice? Correct.
Type them.
Are they hearing my voice? Just get my point across. To get my point across, whatever. Just my that's whatever I'm teaching. I don't know. I remember.
So our purpose as a teacher in presenting is just to make sure that the students get the information, get the point across. Students get the information we're trying to the information we're trying to convey. So, and I think that's kind of a point that a lot of teachers, the reason we go to the board and say, this is what we're going to do, we're trying to cross. But one of the points that I want to kind of make here is that we don't want to confuse information transfer with teaching. So when we're up here and I'm doing something like this, I'm saying, hey, here's a presentation. If you're just sitting here watching, the amount of information that I'm presenting to you is going to be a lot more than you're actually going to retain here, unless you get in there and act. And it's the same with our students. If we are just presenting to them, they're not actively participating in the transfer of information, then they're not going to retain. So my point here is that our purpose in presenting is to, if it's to convey information, it's not necessarily the best way of doing it unless we get our students up and get them to participate. And that's what this whole board right here is part to get you actively involved in participation or actively participate. So hopefully some other people will add some, but not necessarily. So when we see our lectures, when we do a presentation, like I'm doing right now, hey, it's all nice and orderly. In my brain, it was all nice and orderly. These are the steps I'm going to say to you. And this is the reality of how you're getting this mismatch, this jumble. It's not coming in the nice orderly fashion I had. And I can try and do stuff to fix it. I can have them use graphic organizers to kind of take notes or ask them to take notes. And that kind of helps in the transfer. But in reality, we can't really control what the students are getting from us, no matter how organized. And then there's a whole problem of engaging our audience. It's really hard to engage students, especially if they don't want to be. You know, I love this one. This guy. I can't tell if this guy's falling asleep or if he's just angry at this girl over here because she's got her hand up. He's obviously teaching them something, and these two are talking, and this guy's sleeping, and you know, so he's like, this is how I feel sometimes when I teach. Hey, would you guys be quiet, pay attention to me? I'm trying to tell you stuff. But no matter how much they care about it, they're not necessarily going to really be paying attention. And even if they are paying attention, after 2 minutes or so, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, they're off in la la land, not because I'm boring them. It's because they've got enough information. They want to get started. So we've got to kind of break our presentations up into shorter bits and make sure that students get a time to start out. So with that thought in mind, some more interaction for you. I can make it easier so that you can write it down. How do we get students to do presentations? What is our purpose of making students do a presentation? Right? And yes, they can hear. Or it's being recorded.
So what was your question again?
So what's our purpose in having, if we want students to do presentations? So our purpose in doing presentations is conveying information to students. But if we ask them to do presentations,
So they're more comfortable in front of class.
So
And that we know that they received the information we presented. We're working on their communications. Learning how to stand in front of an audience without doing inappropriate gestures and
good. I like those. I did think it would be it is kind of an assessment. It can be a differentiation, something different than the regular test for an assessment. So if they're up there presenting to us, we can tell if they've really learned the material or not. I think it can be motivating to give them a little more control over their work. Rather than doing the work they've given us, it's more of an open-ended thing.
and some students are just better being in front of class or speaking rather than writing.
Right. So absolutely, I think that's really. Obviously, I can't type. It could be the jigsaw type lesson, so each group learns a little bit and then they present to the rest of the group, so they're kind of teaching. And I know a lot of my college professors, my calculus professors say, no, you're never really going to understand calculus until you teach it to somebody else. I think breaking it down as if you were a teacher really gives you the opportunity to learn deeper. So those are, I think, a lot of the key points in why we're asking students to do presentations. But then this happens. It's a long and boring day of presentations where students are reading bullets and not really caring about the presentation. So, and one of the reasons can be, hey, the fear of speaking is, usually one of the top 10 fears of anybody. If you survey everybody, it's one of the top 10 fears. So when we're asking them, hey, let's go stand in front of the class and talk, that right there, problem for us. So how do we get past that? And one of the ways to get past that is to say, hey, let's not everybody use PowerPoint. Even though I kind of default to the PowerPoint, or in this case Google Slides, there are other alternatives to PowerPoint, or even standing in front of the class. So we're going to look at some of those alternatives. And I know one of the reasons you came here is because you definitely want the alternatives. So I'm not going to ask you what they are. We're just going to kind of start moving into those. So here's a list, and if you want to copy it on this address, or I'll email it to you. I have a long list of tools that I've kind of created. I think I sent out this list. So all of these are on there. It's a long list, and each one should have a short sentence on what it is and how to use it. Not all of them are presentation tools. Some of them are storytelling, different things. But here's some of the storytelling ones. I like VoiceThread a lot because it's not created as a presentation tool. It's created as more of an assessment tool. So you can put up a picture and then have people respond by writing, or video, or with audio. So it's a really good way of getting students to talk about stuff that you may have done in the past. Nearpod is a really classical presentation tool that allows you to make slides, so you're comfortable with slides, but you can add in questions, and multiple choice questions, or short answer questions, or drawing questions, and then they can answer those using a phone, or a netbook, or a Chromebook, or anything. So you would have a presentation like that here, and then the next slide would be a question, and then the students can answer the question, and then you can look at the results right away. See how many people are getting your info. It's kind of a check. You could use it for a check of understanding, so you could see how many of the students are getting it right then and there. But you can also go back later because it records the sign in, so it records who is understanding, who isn't. So you can look at it today and say, oh, I can see Johnny Sue didn't get it, so maybe I might want to talk. Pear Deck is really cool. A lot of research is showing if you kind of ask a question first and get kids to think about the answer, even though you haven't taught it, and then go teach it, it helps them think, because they're thinking about it and they don't know and they're struggling to get the understanding. And then you provide the answer, and then they retain it. And Pear Deck really helps in that you can ask the question, and it shows, graph the answers, or show the answers beforehand, so they can see, well, how their answer kind of related to the right answer. And we'll see a little bit something about for later. I love Haiku Deck, especially if you have kids who are doing a presentation. It's a slide PowerPoint presentation, except it limits the number of bullets you have. So when you have kids who are doing a presentation, it's 12 bullet points on each slide. Haiku Deck kind of forces them to put some right breaks that happen. And the picto chart is just making an infographic. So those are really fun. You've probably seen those. Just have a picture and just a little bit of information by each. They're really kind of fun. Kind of like drawing a picture, but better. And we'll look. You can look at the rest of them. You can go through it a little bit. So when we're presenting to students, conveying information is our kind of our purpose. If we're not engaging our students, if we're not at least keeping them awake, like I'm not keeping you awake right now, they're not paying attention. But if we don't bring some questions in there, then they're not paying attention. And if they're not getting themselves involved in the work, they're not retaining. So like that Nearpod and stuff like that, so you can intersperse some questions in the middle of it, rather than going to the end and saying, are there any questions? Like that one guy's presentation. Are there any questions? And he turns around and they're gone because they know it's over. So, so if we start a presentation, so this is really cool. Just can't. This was just an article not too long ago. Sorry, we gotta be busy. Sure, make some noise. That's all right. So here's your question. What do you think the answer is? How family income predicts children's college chances. So in this chart, so if the income of the students, from left to right is poor to rich, and then top to bottom, what percentage of those kids go to college? And they tell you right here, yes.
The richer you are, the more you're going to go to college.
So, right, okay. So it's going to start low and go high. Where do you think we'll start? We'll just start, and then just draw your graph. And you know this is the right answer, so we can go through that. Just going to go off something. So this is a great tool. So you can go through here. All of the kids can draw their graph, and then when you're done, here's the real statistics. So they look really pretty close. Gives us an answer. We drew more accurate picture than 96% of the people who've tried so far, which is because I've seen it before. And it tells you what you did wrong. You overestimated chances of college enrollment, but you correctly, in what you did right here, correctly guessed the high rates for children of families. So it's doing three things. It's giving you the chance to make your guess. It's telling you what you did right and what you did wrong. And then when you go down just a little farther, these are the average guesses. So you can see most people started way lower than you did. I kind of drew more of an S curve. So, and almost everybody was right in the middle because that's the answer. So, it's good. So that's a presentation, but technology allows us to get the students involved in our presentation. So they're not just, we're not just giving the information, we're engaging the audience. We're putting a little formative assessment on them. So asking our students a question, not so that we're testing their answers, but evaluating where they are on their knowledge. And not necessarily creating a product, but in not a product creation that's going to be shown off necessarily to the whole world, but creating kind of a product that everybody can share among themselves to kind of start thinking about their knowledge. So you might get some things like in class, you might have kids comparing their stuff. Hopefully they won't be competing necessarily or calling each other names, but they'll compare stuff and then say, oh, Joey got a better answer than Susie. I don't know, maybe Susie's the one or whatnot. But they're also that natural competition kind of gets students to start thinking about and trying to do better. So they're being motivated not by making the teacher happy, but by at least being as smart as the students in the classroom. So, one thing on our presentation we definitely want to do and we want to teach our students is bring in more images. Anytime you're talking to people who do presentations a lot, they don't put a lot of words on the slides. And, I've even seen someone with almost no words at all. If you look at some of the national presenters, when they share their slide decks after the presentation, it's like completely useless because it's 50 slides of pictures and maybe 3 words on the whole thing. And you're like, I don't understand any of this. Well, you have to be. But it helps us remember, because when we're there and we're seeing the pictures, we have that connection between the visual memory and what we say. So it kind of helps us that way. Alternatives might be some of these voice and videos. Instead of having someone come up and do a slide presentation, the move note is kind of like a recording of the slide presentation. So they record it on their own and just turn it in. I know the science teacher here did that. It's a little easier. Show Me is an iPad app, and it's really good in math. It's basically a whiteboard on your iPad, and it records your voice, so you can draw or walk yourself through the math problem, and then record your voice as you talk. So first, the problem is 3 plus 2. So first I draw 3 lines, and then I draw 2 more, and then I count all the lines, and I got 5, and that's 3 plus 2. Works. I know a lot of math teachers like it. It's a plain whiteboard. Math is always difficult to show on a computer screen, so you want to be able to write it. But you could use it for anything. And it's not just an iPad. I mean, the app is an iPad app, but there's white screens on the computer. There's screen recording software, so you can record what's happening on the computer, kind of like we're doing right now. We're recording what's happening on the computer and the voice over the top of it. So it's a way of presenting that. Go Animate is really nice in that if you type stuff out, you have a cartoon character who reads it. So students who write better than they talk could kind of write it out that way and then listen to someone else reading what they've written, and they can see by hearing somebody else read it how well it's, how easy it is. I like narratable as it's, you put pictures up there and you kind of tell a story through the pictures by recording a like 30-second snippet on each picture. And then slide speech is a really cool tool where you take your PowerPoint slides or your Google Doc slides and it reads the slide notes. So if I just uploaded this where I have slide notes on each note or each slide, then it like does a presentation slide by slide. Another great way of having students do a presentation without necessarily presenting in front of everybody. So interspersing questions in what we're doing or in our presentations. And instead of calling it questions, call it formative assessments, because we're not asking questions just to keep people awake. We're asking questions to kind of gauge how well our presentation is. And Pear Deck does that. Educannon and Zaption do that for videos. So if you have a video on YouTube that you think is really cool, you can take that video and just put some questions. So the video would stop, and then the question would come up. They'd have to answer the question, and then go on. So those are good. And of course, we talked about voice there before, where you have pictures and kids can respond to the pictures. Or even you can go so far as to create a self-directed. I always think in my lessons, I don't think in lessons, I start with my unit and kind of break down the unit into individual lessons. And sometimes the lessons change depending on what happened yesterday. So lesson paths used to be called mentor models. You can build like little slides and question and answer to there. So the students can kind of walk through the whole unit or lesson learning. It's kind of like building an online classroom. Have them work on it in class, so you can work independently and you can walk around class and kind of look at it. Wikispaces and Edmodo, and we use the Padlet where you have stuff going on in there. You have questions in there. The students can respond online, but either while you're in class, you can walk around and talk to individual students. But also, like we see in the Padlet, if somebody else adds stuff on here, the answer kind of pops up for everybody, but you don't know who's necessarily adding. You would, as a teacher, be able to see who added if you wanted to check it out. But the other students could be on here, and so you could ask the question, and they put up the answers, and then they don't know necessarily who's putting up the answers, but they're seeing what everybody's putting.
This is Padlet.
This is Pat. So it's a really good way of getting that engagement in the presentation without necessarily having to raise a shout out answers or even being embarrassed about their answers, because they don't know who's putting it up there, so they don't have to worry about whether it's a bad answer or a good answer. It's just an answer up there. And then you as a teacher can pull them up and say, oh, I like this answer, or maybe I might clarify a little bit more on that answer. So you're not embarrassing the individual student by calling them out, but you're taking the kind of misconceptions that they have, giving them a little bit more clarity. So really our presentations for the students are to convey information. Students do that too, but if we're just doing it one big presentation day, it gets long and boring, and that's not necessarily because the students didn't learn anything. I think it's because they're embarrassed in front of class. So if we can get beyond that part, it can help the students a lot. One thing we like to put rules on student presentations, and I usually hear stuff like, when you're making a slide, no more than six words, a bullet, 6 bullets on a slide. I don't really like those kind of rules so much. I get the idea that we don't want students to have this paragraph on a slide and then turn around and read the paragraph. We certainly don't want that. What we really want is a presentation where the whole purpose of asking students to do a presentation, in my mind, is so that they can be more involved with the topic that they learn. And then they have to take ownership of it and put it into their own words, and then convey that information. So that's a deeper learning than just writing down. So to do that, rather than say, don't put all these words on the slide, I'm just going to copy and paste what they found in a book and write it on a slide for us and then read it to us. Rather than that, we might try some different types of rules, like no more than 3 words per slide, or put a question on every other slide. You have to have a background picture of only or something like that. And that has to tell you what to say. Anything that kind of what do they call it? I was just reading a little article on desirable difficulties. So this is research saying if we're just up there talking about information, that's the fastest way to get information from me to you. But it's not very effective for student retention. And when we want students to retain stuff, we actually kind of make it difficult for them to get the information. So I've been saying things like get their hands on it, but any way that you can have desirable difficulty, not all difficulties in getting information makes it better. If I have loud music blaring in the background, it's going to make it really hard for them to get the information, but they're not going to retain it any better. But anything you can do to make them more involved in getting the information out of them, and it helps them understand. So if you give a little bit of information and then ask a question, and they're kind of guessing at the answer, and then you come back with the answer, you had them work a little bit, so they're going to remember. If you say, here's a little bit of information, now I want you to create a presentation, tell me what it means, it's more difficult for them to get information because they've had to go out, find it, and then put it in. So they have more chances of remembering if they're putting it in words that way. So when we're asking students to do a presentation, we're not asking them just to do it, but kind of change it up a little bit to make them put stuff into their own words, and then make us understand what they're learning. It's adding difficulty to their learning, helps them retain it. So, all right, so here's the example. You go into for everybody, and then we'll turn this off and we'll talk about it. Here's the haiku deck. I talked about it before. So they have this layout where you can only put a title and subtitle. And the really nice thing is when you put the title in, it searches for pictures for a background, and then you choose the picture in the background. So it's automatically adding visuals in there, limiting the words, and then it does other really nice things like it searches Creative Commons, so all these pictures are free to view. And it tosses, if you can see a little black in there, it actually tosses a citation stuff too. So it does all of those things that you would ask students to do. It kind of does it for them. I think this is one of my things.
So if you were doing research on the throat, it would show a picture. You could put a picture of the throat up there, and I mean, you have to see how it works.
This is their post.
The eye.
Haiku deck is you have to make an account, and you're supposed to be over 13. But then it goes on this post. It says if you have kids who are under the age of 13. It doesn't say if the kids are under age of 13. So if you're using it in school and kids can't accounts, share your account with them. So I know a lot of people, you have kids who are under 13, so a lot of that's their first. So on the web, we create a new doc. Sign in topic. And it's basically making a PowerPoint, but you only have certain types of slides you can choose from. And then put your topic in there and say, you have some?
Mine's fine.
So when I put that in there, and I click over here on the left for picture, set background. If it's only 1 or 2 words, it automatically puts it in the subject area and grabs a picture and throws it right in. I can put in charts if I want. I can just change the color, blank colors. But, so it puts it in there, and it should. This one may not be a citation, but that's about it. So I can go through and make a bunch of slides. I can't put too many words in. I mean, it is possible to put a lot more words on there, but it's difficult. And then I can get slides. So I've got my people over there, so I might want to put my words on it. Mm-hmm. But that's it. So you've got the 6 slides, and you make the slides, and then you. Yeah, so these are bullets, and it will let you add a bunch of bullets on there, but you can see I can't change the size of my bullets, so they just start getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Until they get too small to read. Well, you've got too many bullets because they're too small to read. So, a really fun tool, really useful tool for those students who tend to put too much stuff on one slide. Voice thread, as I said, I just love this product. It's not really a presentation product, but it's more of a, here's a picture out there, and then you can make a fly. So this is one actually I had done as an assessment. I took from Connected Math books. They have assessments at the end, or kind of checkups. So I thought it would be really nice. This would be the homework or the quiz or whatnot. Take a picture that I found on the web, and here's the question. The question is, explain how to find the total area of the faces of a rectangular box. So that's the nice math question. And now the students would just be able to comment. Again, this is one you have to sign in on. I think you can make it public where you don't necessarily have to sign. So that's what it looks like for the students, and you can see I have other questions on here. Switch to so it's a pretty long assessment. They don't necessarily have to do all of it at once. And then if they wanted to hear me read the question, if you have kids who speak only in Spanish, maybe someone can read the question in Spanish for them. And if they want to comment, they can type, or they can record what they're saying. If they don't have a microphone on the computer, they can call it. Actually, the voice thread calls you. That's the new one I've used. So it's, if students don't necessarily have technology at home, you can have them call, use just the phone. Not necessarily a presentation thing, but it's something where you can get videos, get pictures in there, and have students respond to it. Or they could make their own setup. They could make I'm teaching you about this by asking questions, or maybe I'm just asking you for comments, so they can put picture, words, or something. You see, I was able to start the stuff by putting my own, so you could put your picture in there and do your 10 seconds of whatever this is about, like the question, how do you find the volume of a box, and have the students respond. Or they could build it. Pear Deck, Blendspace, Kahoot. There's dozens, if not hundreds of these, and they all have the same basic theme. That is, you can ask students a question and they can answer using their phone or their computer. Good for pop quizzes, but also really good for in the middle of, we're doing this presentation at the board, but I don't want to talk for more than 5 minutes at a time, so I'm going to make sure I put in a question somewhere, whether it's a check for understanding or just something to keep the students engaged. Split, each of them has advantages and disadvantages. Kahoot's really fun. It's got these colored space things, and it works really well on the phone. But I don't think you can do it long. The Blendspace was really easy to set up. Pear Deck, we saw that one earlier. But then there's more. There's soccer, there's Nearpod, the one we talked about earlier. So there's dozens and dozens. Find the one that you like best, or just pick one at random and work with that to get comfortable. And those are just great ways of keeping people engaged. So like a narrated slideshow, we talked about Show Me. Click. Educreations is another iPad app. But if you don't have iPads, you have netbooks. You need to just basically record screens. Screencast-O-Matic works. Up here I have Screencastify on your Chrome. So that's it's not up there. Must have turned it off for some reason. Screencastify records your screen on Chrome, so it works on Chromebooks and any other netbook. And basically, you can record a little picture of yourself in the corner. It records the screen and it records the voice. Turn off the picture, and it links with your Google Drive. So if students do that, they don't even have to turn it into YouTube. They can record it and it goes to their Google Drive, and then they just share it with viewers and watch it. Great way to check understanding of what they're doing, or recording a presentation that you can watch later. That Powtoons or Don't Animate are really fun. So you're not even recording the screen anymore. You're creating like a cartoon animation to watch. And that's it. So just to kind of recap, our presentations, anytime we go to the board and talk to our students, we want to think of it as a presentation. We're not just conveying information, but we're also making sure the students are engaging in the information and making it their own. And anytime students are doing a presentation, we want to make sure that they're doing more than just reading words on a slide. They're creating something that they've worked on, put some effort into it, made it their own, created their own words instead of just copied someone else's words. And if possible, we want to make sure it's not always the same thing. It's not always just one person talking. It's people looking. So